Okay. Talo falava, mo le aru whaftai e le a whainga ruinga ua mailing ia manua ka langoa ki au tau i wā o ka koainga ma lumana i tak whanau ngi New Zealand. Greetings. I'm going to keep it short. Uh, I am actually now in private practice, so my area is quite different now from what it used to be a year ago. But essentially, I do two areas of work. I'm a trauma counsellor for affiliated to Relationships Aotearoa, and through that through MSD. So I do counselling as well as fee-for-service for mostly government agencies. So there's two areas of work I do. The main client group that I see are Samoans, then Europeans actually, then Tongans, refugee and migrants, and even had a Russian. So it's a very United Nations kind of client base I'm getting. The trauma counselling, this is the host agency that I'm with, rent rooms from Pacific Island Evaluation. I used to actually be a staff, but now actually I'm now just renting a room there and operating as a private practitioner. These are the programs that they provide, and their location is 369 Wilson's Road, and that's where I am as well. Now, the trauma and recovery counselling aim and objectives, it is I consider the very low end of the scale when it comes to family violence, because people present with a lot of issues, but when you get to do the assessment stage, you actually find that there is family violence there, but that is not, it's more for attention which comes in under the contract, and that's the aim and objective of the contract. So, and that can come in various forms, like increasing tension in the home relationships, and any post-earthquake family violence. If there existed before the earthquake in some form or another and has become worse after the earthquake, we can take them on that criteria. Increasing anger and frustration and stress, we all know, is symptomatic of family violence as well. So, and the contract is divided into two. It's primary and secondary stresses. It used to be just the primary ones, but now we've added on the secondary stresses as the years gone by, which is those I consider contributing issues to family violence. And those are all very much familiar to us: financial, poverty, hardship, emotional outbursts, increase in uptake of alcohol, and especially for children, different behaviours. We recognise in children, I find now mostly we now have unresolved trauma is coming out more in physical forms, like girls losing their hair, children being reported to be almost expelled from school, even at preschool and kindergarten, that these kids are acting out, and which is different from normal behaviour and normal child development. And we have a lot of issues around young people as well, increase in truancy, and that seemed to be another motivation. I do remember when the earthquake first happened and post-earthquake first 6 weeks, I was asked by the Ministry of Education, why is 75% of your children still in Christchurch and not attending school? And this was a question I said, I can't answer for the whole of Pacific population in Christchurch. I mean, I can guess, but I wouldn't know until I go and find out. So children are also very much, they're still having behaviours that are essentially now long-term, and it's almost minimised and normalised in the home. So when I work with the parents, I ask those questions, and because the parents are also on the journey of their own of getting recovery from the earthquake. So those I've got up there are the criteria for family violence that exists in the counselling contract, and I consider that quite on the low end prevention, education, end of family violence. The counselling I do offer is individualized, but it's always in the context of a family, as in the safety plan. Pacific are collective, and they come in with multiple issues, but could only present with one in a referral. And this, I'm being called by Relationships Aotearoa as the social worky counsellor, because of the fact is that I work holistically, because I see no sense in assessing a client for trauma, setting goals and objectives, and then not helping them meet those goals in practical ways. Like applications to Variety International, I've had 3 families gone through there, and that criteria is quite high, and they've been accepted. So these children are set for life. The Red Cross, I have an MOU with the Fire Brigade, funnily enough, and safety checks of the home, bringing in Tenant Protection Society with housing issues, and sometimes I've had to hold the client's hand with language to cultural barriers to hand them over to another service. We know how difficult it is for a family with high needs and multiple needs, and how frustrating it can be when they don't engage and keep appointments. But this can come down to simple things like financial, with their problems with transport, an issue or language and or shame, or other crises happening and they can't see the wood for the trees. You know, we know that familiar story, so a lot of the services have that with these families. Now, the FIFA service is a completely different service I offer as well, and this is normally with stat agencies. Now, I've used the accord process because we're talking here now around a more clinical work. I've seen a rise in probation clients coming through. I just call them the bracelet ankle brigade. So because their timing is very crucial when they sign in and they sign out, because they have to get permission from the probation officer. So these, I have links to Child, Youth and Family, the police safety team, and sometimes to family court. These are the high risk areas, and under this area, to our self-referrals for certain programs that clients find themselves. For example, I've got a parenting program that's been approved by family court to run with a certain client who's actually requested that to be done. I just said to him, while you're European, you realise you're going to be bringing up your children in a Samoan way, because this is a Samoan parenting program. But he didn't mind, so okay, if you don't mind, I don't mind. Now, I have created about 27 programs around family violence in Pacific, and this is because of gaps in the front line. Usually when I come across a gap, my mind thinks, oh, there has to be something here that's not here. So I ended up creating 27 programs over 15 years of practice. And these often I use as part of my action plan after I've done a clinical and social work assessment. And if the family require it, then I will use one of the programs I've already created. I have a background in domestic violence. I was on the now deregulated Ministry of Justice National Approvals Panel for mandated programs through family court. I was there for 8 years, so I learned something or two being on that panel. So the referrals that come here are actually, as I say, we're using the court process. So, okay, 2 minutes. Skip. The last thing that I'm actually doing at the moment, it started about 3 years ago, is a collaborative project, a local initiative that's between 3 parties. And it's quite weird when you think about who is actually involved here, but we work together now, and we were approached by the Catholic Church to where was the biggest need in Christchurch for Pacific. And for my area, I said children, winter clothing under 10. They said, okay, put together a proposal and send it to us, and we will look at funding it. So this is what happened, and it's been ongoing ever since. And the criteria is quite high, but they have to be assessed and by a registered social worker as severely disadvantaged by financial constraints on the parents. And it's because we've got a lot of Pacific children that come in and out of hospital during the winter months with chronic respiratory infections. And it seems to be an ongoing thing for now for about 3 years. So this means that they are entitled to $100 worth of clothing per child. So they get a voucher and they go to farmers in Papanui. It's the only shop that would accept this system. And then they sign off for consent. They send the vouchers that get sent up to Auckland, and Auckland send me a copy and I check it off. So it's very transparent, and I do a report. It runs from March to September back to the church, and so far everything's been really, really good. We've had good feedback and unexpected feedback from different quarters, like the staff at farmers. They really like seeing these families come through because they don't often see them. And one thing that I did last year was that when they had a children's sale at farmers, they actually opened the shop for our families the day before it was open to the public. So they gave them the opportunity before it went out. So it has become quite a very good relationship that we have now with farmers in Papanui. And as I say, they really like our families, which is really, really good. And our families like them. So I guess my national links and affiliations, I don't know where to start because I've been doing this for 15 years. And so I have an extensive network, which is the cornerstone of any social worker. We're known as change agents, and so we straddle all government departments. And I move in and out of the systems, and it's worthwhile to identify key workers in government department and build up a mutual relationship. And it's a bit like peer supervision and combining your strengths to address family violence issue. I'm a past health professional. I'm actually a physiotherapist and a radiographer, and also a neurodevelopmental therapist. So, which leads into what I specialize in now, which is the effects of violence on a developing brain, and I'm looking at it in a clinical and cultural way. I'm on COS. I was on SPA. I was on the MOJ panel, I said before. I'm a trauma counsellor affiliated to Relationships Aotearoa. I'm actually a certificate cultural supervisor from Massey University. I'm currently awaiting membership of Jigsaw. I don't know if you all know Jigsaw. It's a national network of particularly family violence agencies. I'm an advisory group for Family Violence Clearinghouse. The last time I presented was at their conference at Te Papa last year. So